where did the idea of Willie and Joe actually come from? We've read so many versions on that. Let's hear the truth.
Well, no, it's just simply, the best description is they sort of growed like Topsy, you know?
Yes.
No, it was, they were drawn on basically they were a composite, really, of characters I knew in my company, K Company, the 180th Infantry.
Yes.
And we had a lot of Indians, for example, and the guy with the hooked nose was an Indian to begin with.
Yes.
But he could have been any one of several Indians. And the other guy, sort of a straight man in many ways, well, he really was. He was a composite too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I ran into a shrink after the war who told me. He said, "I don't know if this will surprise you or not, but you know, Willie was your father." And I said, "How do you arrive at that?" He was one of these guys who likes to talk to people in living rooms. You know?
Yes.
It's very unsettling. And I met him at a party, and he told me this, and he said, "Do you remember the drawing you did of Willie on the cover of Time back in June or sometime back in 1945? And I said, yes. And he said, well, inside the magazine is a picture of your father who was working at Ryan Aircraft in San Diego at the time.
Yes.
At his machine tool, you know. And he said, take a look at your father and then look at the cover. And I did. And, of course, he was absolutely right. Willie was a portrait of my father, so there's a lot of psychology in here, obviously.
Yes.
And he said, now look at yourself. And he said, you're round-faced, you got a pug nose, you got big ears, and there's Joe. And I said, my God. So there was a lot of that in it, too.
Yes.
And this is often true of cartoon character.
Sure.
You know, you're doing yourself and somebody you know. So there are lots of stories about who Willie and Joe really were, but that's basically the truth. They were nobody, really.
Yeah.
They were everybody and they were nobody.
Did they just develop from people you knew and experiences?
That's basically right. Yeah. Then they didn't really harden his characters until we were overseas. The first winter in Italy, which was a really miserable winter. I have likened it to Valley Forge, which is not too bad, I think. And everybody grew beards, partly because there wasn't enough water for shaving, and partly because the beard kept your face warm. And so that's when they became bearded.
Yes.
And I never shaved them after that, because it seemed to me that was, you know, a good... it was one of the things that got me in trouble often with the brass, with certain elements of the brass anyway. It was that these guys were always unshaven, and these brass hats felt that, goddamn it, they ought to be cleaned up once in a while. Every soldier cleans up once in a while. But I would try to explain that once you've established a character, you can't change him.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
So anyway, they hardened his characters after they were in combat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Generally, what was the Army hierarchy's reaction, other than they wanted the character shaven?
No, obviously I had a consensus, you know, I'd have been put out of business in a hurry. I mean, the Army is not a democratic institution, you know. And
yes.
Therefore, my stuff was tolerated and even approved of, I think, by most of the brass, because they recognized it had a safety valve value, you know.
Yes.
And I was letting off steam for a lot of people. They also recognized, I think, instinctively, they have a sharp eye for this kind of thing, and I think they recognized instinctively that I was not trying to sink the Army. You know, I mean, after all, I had volunteered for it.
Yes.
And in many ways, I was fond of the Army, but I was just trying to reform it, that's all. I think a lot of them agreed with my attitude.
Yeah.
It always seemed to me our Army was much too Prussian to be an American Army.
Yes.
I think we can thank old von Steuben for that.
Sure, yeah. Sure. Did you have a meeting with General Patton and he asked you to change? He
didn't ask me. You know, he read the Riot Act to me and you know, told me how I was destroying morale. Excuse me, one thing and another. You know, it was a sort of a. It was supposed to be a discussion, but it was primarily a monologue on his part that went on for quite a while.
Yes.
In which he undertook to educate me. Actually, the odd thing about the whole Patton episode was I won it hands down, obviously, from a PR standpoint, because, you know, a 3-star general versus a 3-stripe sergeant, you know who's going to win in the newspapers.
Sure, sure.
But the fact is that while he didn't like me worth a damn or what I did, I had a lot of respect for him. I thought he did a lot of good things. He was crazy as a hoot owl, obviously, but he also was one of the few generals we had in our Army who believed in getting people out of their foxholes and on the attack, which is the way to save lives.
Sure.
And so I agreed with his basic philosophy, which was that we tended to spend too much time hunkered down in foxholes. So I agreed with him. I mean, you know, I thought in many ways he was a very valuable guy.
Yes.
So, but I didn't tell him that.
Did General...
I didn't have a chance to tell him.
Yeah, I imagine it was a one-way conversation.
Yeah, right.